afternoon to everyone. Welcome all to the concluding session of the 5th Young Indian Research Scholar Conference on Tibetan Studies. It's been lovely to have you all here at the conference. So I would like to call Mr. Pasang Siring, Principal of the College for Higher Tibetan Studies, SARA, to give a valedictory address.
Good afternoon, friends. I'm very honored and happy to be here among you for this conclusion session of the 5th Young Indian Research Scholars Conference. And lecturer from the Department of Information and International Relations. I hope most of you know him. And Dr. Denzita Sela, Dr. Ladunla, and my friends and other colleagues from the Tibet Policy Institute, as well as all the participants from various institutions and researchers, and my students who have also participated here for the conference. I greet you all, and I have nothing much to say or share, but I just had an opportunity to go through the brief brochure Tibet Policy Institute had shared with you. And my understanding is that through this conference, we are trying to achieve come to a common platform where we achieve understanding of Tibet, Tibetan culture, civilization, politics, without romanticization or, in other words, using your imagined kind of Tibet. This has been the trade or in the earlier years, in the 1960s and the 70s. But in 1979, at Oxford, the first conference of the International Association of Tibetan Studies was organized. And from there on, many researchers, mostly Western researchers, have tried to understand Tibet through a different lens. And that lens is to look at Tibet and its neighboring countries from a more realistic kind of approach. And there was no room for romanticization or imagination. And I think that is very, very important, because through this romanticization and idealization in a way, many of the issues that relates to Tibetan culture and its relation with the borders, especially with India, are kind of lost in between. So I just want to share with you a kind of a quote from Donald Lopez from his book, Prisoners of Shangri-La. And it's a little bit long, but I'll just read it. But you have to hear this and then try to apply it when you do your research, okay? So Donald Lopez, in his introduction to his book, Prisoners of Shangri-La, he writes, this is found in his introduction part and towards the last paragraph. The book does not set out to apportion praise and blame, neither is its purpose to distinguish good Tibetology from bad, to separate fact from fiction or the scholarly from the popular, but to show their confluence. the question is, the question here considered is not how knowledge is tended, but how knowledge takes form. The book then is an exploration of some of the mirror-line cultural labyrinths that have been created by Tibetans, Tibettophiles, and Tibetologists, labyrinths that scholar may map, but in which scholar also must wander. We are captives of confines of our own making. We are all prisoners of Shangri-La. This book, then, is written outside the walls of prison, nor does it hold a key that would permit escape. Hidden in its pages, however, some may find a file with which to begin the slow work of sawing through the bars. So, and to add to this, I also like this kind of quotation from Jamia Nubula, and this is a very short piece, and the title of his writing is called Behind the Lost Horizon, and it's a collection of essays and articles by various Tibetologists, and the title of the book is Imagining Tibet, Perceptions, Projections, and Fantasies. And in this, Janula writes, fantasy of Tibet is to deny Tibet its history, to exclude Tibet from a real world of which it has always been part, and to deny Tibetans their role as agents participating in the creation of contested quotidian reality. So with these two kind of thoughts, I hope when you do research on Tibet, I think there is no research paper that is the best or the worst, good or the bad. Maybe there some papers, there may be even some mistakes or errors, but then it gives way or the opportunity for other researchers to look into this and then correct it in their papers. I think that's how the research findings are used, presented, and understood. So these are all then in the future becomes an immense kind of resource you find in the libraries or in these research publications. So it is very important, not just for the young Indian research scholars, but also for the Tibetan research scholars to continue doing research, make effort to find new things, new sources, and then share it with the communities, the readers, and maybe your papers, your publications may also reach to the ears and eyes of the policymakers, which then can have a huge impact, especially in the Tibetan scenario right now, contemporary Tibet. We are in the space of struggle. And there are, of course, huge list of publications from China. Of course, propaganda materials, but then we sometimes see some Indian researchers, young Indian as well as established researchers, using those sources. And that's very sad. Just recently I saw one, of course this is not in research, but it's a YouTube channel. And if you remember, His Holiness Dalai Lama, just before leaving to Ladakh, he made a statement about China, Tibet, and his I don't know, his wish, I would say, to go back to Tibet, but maybe not stay there, or something like that. And I saw one Indian blogger. The title of his blog is Dalai Lama Supporting China. It's very sad, you know. So such things happen, but of course, people like you can make these correct. And I think, therefore, these kind of conferences, these kind of platforms are very important, and I'm really happy that many young Indian scholars have taken time and effort to come here and share your research papers, your findings, and in future, of course, TBI and the College for Higher Tibetan Studies will always make attempts to organize such conferences, but we would also appreciate if your institutions, your colleges, universities are willing to partner with us and maybe host this kind of conferences, not just here in Dharamsala, but maybe in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Calcutta, you know. So that will also, I think, invite opportunity for many other researchers who could not be here. I heard some of the participants from Sikkim could not be here because of the weather condition there. But then if we have this kind of conferences around India, then I think it will be a huge opportunities for many researchers to come together and share your findings, and also maybe give a message to the larger Indian and Tibetan population who very often are maybe interested but do not have the information needed to understand the realities. So here I would like to also share with you Tenzin Chöndrila is here, and Tenzin Chöndrila, me, and also I think Pujung Di Sonam, we have a WhatsApp group, Tibetan Studies WhatsApp group, and I think currently we have about 196 members, and in this WhatsApp group we share research papers, we also give guidance or advice or directions, and we also share information about conferences or meetings about Tibet, Tibetan culture, Tibetan history. So if you are interested, you are most welcome to join. And since Tenzin Chöndrila is here, you can then contact him so that he can add you in our Tibetan Studies WhatsApp group. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope as a host for this conference, I hope the rooms, the food, and other facilities were not really that good, but comfortable to you all. And I really hope to see you all again, maybe next year, maybe at the 6th round of the Young Indian Tibetans Young Indian Researchers Conference here, or maybe somewhere else. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Basantsering, especially for sharing such a wonderful and informative quotation. So now I would like to invite Mr. Tenzin Lekshe, Additional Secretary of Department of Information and International Relations, official spokesperson of the Central Tibetan Administration, to give a concluding remarks.
Good evening, all. And for whole 2 days session, it must be quite tiring to listen to presentations after presentations. In fact, I was a little tired because I came last night from Chandigarh. Then I attempt to listen to as many presentations as possible. And I would like to congratulate all participants for your wonderful presentations and thank the Tibet Policy Institute for giving this opportunity and a platform for all the young Indian research scholars on Tibetan studies to interact, to discuss, and to meet and build up the networks. So let me congratulate all of you for your presence over here. And the weather is also good, unlike the monsoon time where we all are soaked, right? And this time in Sara, as usual, right, they are the best host, and hopefully the Tibet Policy Institute will be able to have another round of such conferences in the future. When I was in Tibet Policy Institute, I thought that this conference could make an impact. And we started this conference, and I can see Surajit also, who was among the first. In spite of him being a youngest, he attempted. And right now he has already become like a scholar. So that's a good thing to start. And when we started, why we thought that such conference is needed? In India, where there are more than 1.4 billion people, the world's largest populated country, and India, where we see the rising above everybody. In fact, with the success of the G20 and the formation of these Delhi declarations has become a pride for all Indians, right? It's a moment for India to rise. And in this moment, how many people in India understand Tibet? Though we have a civilizational relationship, though we coexist for thousands of years, though we've been calling each other as Guru and Chela, but how many people understand Tibet? And I've been going around in India, and I've been given a job long time back to look into Indian support groups. And I felt that many Indians are very sympathetic because of their culture, deeply rooted culture. Yes, they are not just sympathetic to Tibetans, they are sympathetic to everybody, even to China. But at this moment, when we have this sympathy, but when we ask the question, where is Tibet, then they will point fingers at different directions. And they do not exactly know where is Tibet. So what we felt is, if the Indians do not understand Tibet, and then where shall India be in the future? When Tibet exists along with India for thousands of years in the past, and shall exist for millennia in the future. So better late than never. It is the right moment for Indians to understand Tibet and to have a scholarship in Tibetan studies. Not for the sake of the Tibetans, but for India's own sake. So therefore, I think that because of the academic vacuums exist over so many years in India on the subject which is related to Tibet, I thought that more and more engagements are needed. More and more need conferences and workshops and trainings and scholarships has to come from the Indians. So this is the, I would say that from this meeting, you will excel in your own scholarship on Tibetan studies and go further to become an authority on the Tibetan subject. While listening to some of you, I felt that we are still looking into a very generic subject, which is in exile, about nationalism, about diasporic, right? So we look into all those things which are quite easily accessible to us. So only few talks about what's happening inside Tibet, which is very difficult. So therefore, in the future, I would say that more and more should understand what China does inside Tibet, which will make an impact on India. And we have conglomerations of all experts from different universities and institutions. I hope that you will call upon young aspiring scholars in the future meetings. And you should also convene meetings, small group, to discuss about those issues on a regular basis. Now, there is a trend which is going on over some time. Many in international communities, many in national levels also, there are conferences on China. And we try to walk into and present Tibet in the Chinese studies. Right, so therefore I strongly believe that if we call ourselves not being China, still when we have the issue on our hand, I think it shouldn't be within the Chinese studies, but it should be considered as Tibetan studies. When we have the leverage and the freedom to go as what we want, but if we succumb to the Chinese studies programs and go along with the Chinese studies program, then it won't be also, I think that being a civil servant, being in the cause, I think that it'll have implications. And second thing, I used to tell Indian friends, even when you work on different articles, policy papers, many among the Indians, they were used to calling Sino-Indian border. Even in the media also, I used to tell them, it is not the Sino-Indian border. So when you have the research papers, when you write research papers, make sure you write Indo-Tibet border to make the history clear that in the past, Tibet and India shares the border. So I, being a spokesperson, I have to talk about political issues. I'm not an academic, but I do interact with lots of academics. In fact, the problem with me is, even though I said that we have to have a separate Tibetan studies program, but unfortunately, I have to go with the China studies scholars, right, in Delhi, the experts who are interested in China studies, because they are still no one in India who has authority on Tibetan studies, unfortunately. So I hope that within this room, in the future, we'll have the authorities of Tibetan studies, which can flourish around, not just for the sake of Tibetans, but even for the sake of India and for all humanities. So I will wind up here because I know that you all are tired, right? And you're waiting for the sessions to close so that you can go for the riverbed to enjoy. So, but with this session, I hope that you'll build up many networks within your friends, right, for the 2 days, and let's make this friendship turn into, right, a better future, right, with more scholarship, so that the Indian policymakers will understand what is exactly the right thing. Thank you so much, and it's my pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Tenzin Leishi, for his wonderful concluding remarks. Despite having such an busy schedule, he made it to the today conference and he spent his one whole day here at the conference. So I really want to thank him for this conference. Now I would like to call again Mr. Tenzin Leishi to distribute an award of certificate to the participant. I would like to call the name according to the conference schedule. So please come on the stage to take the award of certificate. First, Mr. Sorajit Ghosh, please come on the stage. Can you please give a round of applause? Mr. Gyumek Lotus. Mr. Tenzin Delek. Mr. Doje Tuntu. Dr. Jimmy Ishelama. Dr. Junjun Sharma Pathak. Mr. Stanzil Hagia. Dr. Devendra Kumar. Mr. Deepak Kumar Gautam. Dr. Lobsang Yangsu. Miss Himadri Sonowal. Miss Aditi Krishna. Mr. Rajeshwar Khyarpa Thakur. Miss Kalyani Yola. Thank you, Mr. Tenzin Lekshe and Mr. Pasan Sering. And now I would like to call Mr. Tenzin Desel, Senior Fellow of the Tibet Policy Institute, to give a vote of thanks.
Okay. Good evening again. So my job here is pretty simple, very straightforward. So to begin with, I really want to thank Principal of Sarah College for Higher Tibetan Studies, Pasan Sering, for facilitating all the and for extending all the logistical support for making this event a success. So I want to thank Mr. Pasan Sering and the staff members of the Sarah College for Higher Tibetan Studies. So thank you very much. And Mr. Tenzin Chotala, he's been staying with us throughout the conference, helping out with the PA public address system. So Mr. Tenzin Chotala, he's the staff of the Saras College for Higher Tibetan Studies, who we would like to thank him also. And I would like to also thank members of the Tibetan press who came here during the course of the entire conference for reporting on the event and then making people aware about the events that was progressing here. So we would like to thank them also. And more significantly, I also would like to thank all my colleagues for putting this conference together, and then most of all, Miss Tenzin Hatunla, who was spearheading this entire event. She's the coordinator of the entire conference, so we would like to thank her also. As we all know, conference of any kind, the success of any conference really depends on the speakers of the conference. And I thought it would be quite useful to stretch that metaphor that Mr. Pasangla used about the prisoners of Shangri-La, about how some of the academics, they've been writing within the confines of the prisons that has set themselves, writing within the cells of the prisons that is Shangri-La. And if I am to stretch that metaphor, I'm quite happy to alert Mr. Pasan Sringla and Kilekshila that most of the scholars who were here, they came out of the cell of the prisons, that is Shangri-La, and they shattered the gates of the prisons, and they were writing and presenting their research far behind the confines of the prison grounds. So I'm quite happy to report on that. So with this, I would like to thank all the speakers who have come from different parts of India to present at this conference. So please give yourselves a round of applause. And for any kind of conference, as you know, financial support is very significant, so we would like to thank Frederick Norman Foundation for financially assisting in making this event a success. So thank you all. Thank you for making this conference a success. And then I hope to see you all again with the 6th installment of the Young Indian Scholars Conference on Tibetan Studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tenzin Desel. With his note, once again, I would like to thank each and everyone, especially all the speakers who came here in Dharamsala for the conference, and our staff, organizer, especially Dr. Tenzin Hajun, and everyone for making this conference happening. And we look forward to see you again in the next year, Young Indian Research Scholar Conference. Thank you, everyone.